for Stephen Amell!
Oh my goodness! Hey everybody!
There's a few people here. A few. Stephen.
Hi.
So how was the wrestles last night?
The wrestling last night, yeah, it was great. It was great. I've never been, what's it called, the Vivint?
Well, we're changing it to the Verdant Arena for you.
Sure. Where the Jazz play. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I didn't know that a bunch of people from WWE got in touch with me and said, are you coming to the show? I said, sure. Where is it? And they said, it's in Salt Lake City. You're going to be in Salt Lake City. And I said, well, how far is the show from the convention center? They said, look out a window. So that's what I did. Hey, I was reading, there's a book of dad jokes back there.
Is that what you were looking at?
I was looking at the book of dad jokes. I love dad jokes.
I blame Provost for that.
And actually, it was open to the page of my daughter's favorite dad joke. Do you want to hear it?
I want to hear it.
Okay.
There we go. Spot.
When is a door not a door?
So we're in the wrong room.
When it's a jar. That makes me so happy for all the dads out there. You guys know. Yeah, that's right.
Wait, when does a joke become a dad joke? When the punchline becomes apparent.
See, it's him. It's him. He does this. I've been to dinner with this guy. He does this all the time.
It's the best. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Most of my jokes my dad told me I can't tell here.
Sure.
Well, there's one. There's a skeleton walks into a bar and he says, give me a beer and a mop. It's terrible. See, it's terrible.
I got one more for you.
Because he would drink.
I got one more. It's my favorite joke.
Please.
I heard it. I think it's brilliant. Okay? I think I told it to you though. I told you the gaslighting joke, right?
No.
Yeah, I did.
Did you? The door joke?
No, the gaslighting joke. I told you the joke.
Now my therapist is going to hear about this. I want to talk briefly about wrestling culture because it's so fascinating to me. The first WrestleMania, and they would tour occasionally. They wouldn't just have it in one location. You'd travel to a place to go see it. And they stopped by here at the Salt Palace at the time. And it was the first WrestleMania, and that was my first exposure to this culture. And it's just fascinating. It's a lifestyle. It's almost a religion, right?
Well, I mean, I think that wrestling culture and pro wrestling culture, it's a little bit like what we have now with Comic-Cons. Right? I mean, it's just, look, don't try to explain it. You know, there were guys last night and they had this gimmick, like they're big fashionistas and they come down with their own paparazzi and their own manager, and when they tag each other, they just do it with a pinky like this. It's so stupid. But it's amazing. And if you like it, you like it, you know? Like, I didn't know what those outfits were this morning from season 4 of Stranger Things because I haven't seen it. I'm waiting to watch it with my daughter. We're not quite there yet. But like, yeah, pizza outfits. I love it. So wrestling culture is like that. I mean, you hand yourself over to a product, be it in person, which is a cool experience, or just something that you're watching on TV, and you know, you just let it entertain you. And does everything have to make sense? No, of course. Life would be so boring if everything made sense.
And these guys are artists. I mean, they're not
100%,
only athletes, but they're artists, and performers, actors, all of it, writers.
Yep. And it's actually really interesting watching them perform because one of the things that wrestlers are taught is that when you're performing in a ring, you're performing not for the person that's sitting right in the front row at ringside. You're performing for the person that's in the last row of the upper deck. So when you see them be all animated and when they get hit, oh, like that, that's what they're trained to do. And that's a style of, that's sort of like stage acting versus acting for film or television.
Playing to the back.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I love you guys in the front row, but I care way more about the ones in the back row back there.
So let's talk wrestling villains for a second.
Sure.
Who's the greatest heel of all time, and why is it Rowdy Piper?
Woo!
Oh, I'm sorry.
It might actually be Rowdy Piper. I mean, Ric Flair is a great heel. Oh man, there's some good ones. Triple H had a good heel run way back in the day. There's this guy MJF right now that isn't like. The thing about wrestling right now is there aren't a lot of straight up bad guys. Because if you're a bad guy, you're a bad guy. That's a heel. Whereas now, you got heels that are like, yeah, I'm a heel, but like, I want to be the cool heel, right? Because they all want to be so bad and so entertaining that in this roundabout way they become, you start rooting for them. Which is actually like very similar to like a show like, maybe like Arrow or like say Breaking Bad or something to that effect where, I mean, people were rooting for Walter White, right?
And we shouldn't have been.
You should not have been. No. People forget with that series because it took place over so many years that it only takes place over the course, the actual series, the actual timeline only takes place over the course of maybe about a year, I think.
2 years.
Walter White's doing terrible things. Like I'm next to Giancarlo Esposito today, who's a good friend of mine and played one of the great villains of all time. We were rooting for Gus Fring. We should not have been rooting for Gus Fring. But whatever.
But then with a wrestling heel, you get that, if you're doing it like you're saying nowadays, you get that chance for a redemption arc later on.
Yeah, sure, but also just the wrestling, the heel in wrestling is in charge, in the ring. Like, sorry if I'm gonna break the kayfabe cap off here a little bit, but when two wrestlers in the ring, the good guy, the face, is not the one that's calling all the moves. He's not the one that's calling all the spots. That falls solely on the guy that's playing the heel in the match because people will only cheer when they really, really dislike the person that they're rooting against. Like, they can like the person that they're rooting for, but if they're facing an adversary that's not formidable, then they're never in danger. And if they're never in danger, then there aren't any stakes. And if there aren't any stakes, then no one cares when they make their grand comeback, right? Like, there's nothing, making a crowd cheer is easier. Making a crowd boo you is hard. It's really hard.
When you can get the boo, that's a good feeling.
When you get the, I'd 100% be a bad guy. I'd 100%. Yeah. I need a change of pace. Look at the number of people that are in here. You're all cheering. I'm ready for boos.
Let it fuel.
I changed my mind.
Was there much wrestling, pro wrestling in Canada when you were growing up?
Yeah, Toronto was one of the big stops. They would always come to Maple Leaf Gardens, and Montreal has a pretty storied history in wrestling. A lot of wrestlers that people know, like Bret Hart and Owen Hart, and they all trained in. A lot of them they all trained in Calgary with Stampede Wrestling. Wrestling has a very deep Canadian lineage, and a lot of your favorite wrestlers have been Canadian actually. Chris Jericho, lots and lots.
Now you've done it.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah.
Did you ever get hurt?
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened?
Well, let's see. When the first singles match that I did this move where I jumped from one side of the ring to the other side of the ring, and I just figured I didn't want to land on my back because I didn't want to hit the back of my head. So I just peeled to the side at the last minute and landed on my left hip. And then, yeah, dumb. And then after the match, I was in the locker room and I kept checking underneath my hip. Because I thought I was sitting on like a tennis ball or a golf ball or something like that, and I had a hairline fracture on my hip, and then the first stunt that I did on heels, the same move, so that move is now retired. I got it on the first take, and I wanted another crack at it because I didn't go as far as I wanted, and because the cameras were all set up, so it was all gonna be fine. And I went too far, and instead of landing on my hip, I landed on my butt, but I landed straight up and down like this, and tried to keep going, and then couldn't breathe. And I had 2 compression fractures in my back. So.
Thank God.
Yeah, so anyway,
for the Canadian healthcare. Thank you.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway, my wife's a huge fan of me wrestling. That's for sure.
I was going to ask about that.
No, it's bad. No, it's bad. Yeah. No, well, the thing is that when you start doing anything, right? It's like you know, if someone got called up on stage and they had to do like a push-up contest or something like that, which we're not going to do under any circumstances. But the point is that there would be adrenaline that would kick in there, and they'd probably do way more push-ups than they were capable of doing, and the next day they might not be able to lift their arms. The first couple of times that I was in the ring, I didn't really have any formal training, so I was just relying upon the fact that there were 15,000 people in the crowd, and it was on television, and I didn't want to embarrass myself, so I'm relying on adrenaline. So on the B side of it, I'm terribly hurt. Now I actually, over a couple of seasons of heels, have gotten better at it. So I think that I can do it in a more thoughtful way. Or at least that's, again, how I'm going to position it to my wife when I want to try it again.
It's just a matter of learning how to fall gracefully and don't hurt yourself. Now, growing up in Canada, was it always acting, or what was the plan B? Did you have a plan B?
No, I never really had a plan B. I went through high school. I did acting in high school, and then I did a year of drama school in Los Angeles, and then I moved back to Toronto to help take care of my mom and my sister while she was still in high school, and just stuck around Toronto. And then once she graduated and went off to university, I started to get more into acting a little bit. But it wasn't until my early 20s, it wasn't until, late 20s, like 28 or thereabouts, I'm 41 now, that I really started to get into it and it started to click.
Was it theater? Did you just...
No, actually, I haven't been back on a stage aside from something like this, and frankly, panels and Q&As and stuff like that actually give me the inclination to try it again. I haven't been back on stage since high school.
But then you got that first job on, what was it? Was it Hung? No, Queer as Folk.
Queer as Folk, yeah.
Queer as Folk. What was... You're just a kid, you're walking in there. What was that like?
Well, so on Queer as Folk, I played a spin instructor. And at the time, I was a spin instructor. To break into acting, to be able to afford to go to these auditions, I would teach like 3 or 4 or 5 spin classes around the city of Toronto every day. And so this audition came up, and I had been going out on auditions for 2-3 months. This audition came up for a spin instructor on Queer as Folk, and I told my agent, I was like, if I don't get this, I quit. And I'm glad I got it, because they hired me. I'm pretty sure they had no idea that I was actually a spin instructor, so luckily that all worked out.
It looks like he knows what he's doing, I guess. We can keep him around. But then we got Hung. That was another break for you, where we got to look at you. I want to ask you about because you did New Girl, the Christmas episode. And do you want to do more comedy? Because I thought you were terrific in it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do. I mean, there are funny elements to heels, not as many. I think in 170 episodes, I think Oliver told like half a joke. He started, and then some sort of emergency happened, and he left. Yeah, I would love to do more comedy. Comedy's a lot of fun, and I don't know. I like being silly. I like having fun. I don't want to be serious all the time. I promise. One of the most fun times that I ever had on Arrow was when Oliver and Barry did the body swap thing. I mean,
I love that.
that was fun. Or even just in general, when I would go over to the Flash and it just the mood would be different. I'd really
You could tell there was a
I'd really
different-
enjoy that. Because when I was over there and when you're doing the crossovers are like this standalone thing that sure they have to make sense in terms of the storyline, but you are given a little bit more creative license. Like on episode 99 of Arrow, we're fighting a jewel thief, and on episode 100 of Arrow, we're fighting aliens, and on episode 101 of Arrow, we're fighting an armored car robbing crew or something like that. Not actually, but on the crossovers, you just could be a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, I guess, and then some of the humor comes out just a little bit.
Casey Jones.
Yeah.
How lucky are you to get to be Casey Jones in a Ninja Turtles movie?
I mean, it's
You gotta be your kid's hero, right?
It still seems kind of surreal. Yeah, that was amazing. The movie came out. I liked the movie a lot. I thought it was great. It was really fun. You know, that's one of those things where my daughter she would have been 2 or 3 when I was filming that, so that was really cool. And now, you know, we've just had a baby boy, but she was there through the process of that. When he's like 5 or 6, I'm gonna get him into the Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna sit him down and I'm gonna blow his mind. I hadn't thought about that until just this moment. I want him to be 6 right now.
Get the action figures, all of that stuff.
Man, it's gonna be
Just
great.
real quick, I'm told I'm hogging the mic, but real quickly here.
Yeah.
Last time you were here was about 5 years ago, and you announced that you were going to be on American Ninja Warrior.
I think I promised that I would try to do it here, and then I did it.
Yeah.
And I'm just patiently waiting for these questions that are about to come my way. No, that was a really fun experience. That was really neat.
Maybe somebody will ask. Let's start with our questions here, shall we?
Yes.
What's your name?
My name is Addie.
Hey, Addie.
What is Oliver Queen's favorite food?
What is Oliver Queen's favorite food?
Yes.
Vanilla milkshakes. And macaroni and cheese. And sushi.
You can have all those carbs.
That's a great question.
Yeah,
Addie, what is your favorite food?
sushi.
Is sushi as well?
Yeah.
Salmon, tuna, what?
Goldfish.
Okay. Look at your refined palate.
Yes.
I see that. I like it. Your tattoo's all sparkly under the lights too, which I really like.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Addie. Thank you.
Who's next?
Hi, I'm Tristan. I love the shoes.
Thank you. Yeah, so just about my Crocs for a second here. I've been standing, I was standing all day yesterday, my hips are starting to get sore. I gotta tell you, I got these mostly just to piss my wife off.
That'll work.
They are so comfy. I've got a regular pair, I've got an all-terrain pair, I've got a sports pair. I'll tell you, I'm gonna give you a fashion tip. Okay? Fashion is all about being comfortable, because being comfortable makes you, yourself, comfortable. Once you're comfortable, you exude a good energy and a nice confidence, and you're more approachable as a person. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a nicer human being because of my Crocs. your question.
My question is, out of all the crossovers you filmed out
Yeah.
as the Great Oliver Queen, which was your favorite?
Definitely the Elseworlds crossover. When we first, well, two. I'll give you two, just because I mentioned that crossover. I mentioned that crossover before. Doing the body swaps and all that stuff, and getting to wear the Flash suit was great. But I think my actual favorite day ever shooting the crossovers wasn't actually technically a crossover. It was the first episode of The Flash. Because I appear in this really quick scene. The cool thing about that was that we were towards the end of the second season of Arrow, and we lost a bunch of our crew because the same director from the Arrow pilot came for the Flash pilot, David Nutter, and he took a bunch of the camera operators and a bunch of the crew, and they went over there for that shoot. So I hadn't seen a lot of those guys, including the director, since we shot the Arrow pilot, and just to go back there for like a quick day and shoot this one scene and, you know, give Barry Allen his superhero name and stuff like that. That was really fun. That was amazing. Thank you.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Kat.
Hi, Kat.
I wanted to ask, have you ever worn the Oliver Queen costume or the Arrow costume outside of set?
No. I almost went in one morning and got coffee after like we were shooting on location, and I almost walked in there and got coffee. Now, not only have I not worn it on set, but amazingly, I never took one with me. Like, I gave a couple away to charity. Like, I gave a girl a suit at San Diego Comic-Con. And I mean, as nice as it was, I kind of regret it now. No, I asked. They've got like 10 versions of each suit at some warehouse in Burbank, California, and I politely asked for one of them. I would have even taken the season 4 one, okay? And I thought that maybe there would be like a quid pro quo or something like that. They just said no.
I guess you know Grant stole one of those Flash costumes. You know that.
Well, he hasn't stolen one yet, because I'm about to text him and say, steal as much as you can. He could be asking all sorts of questions, and she could be like, Mr. Queen, why are you asking these questions? And he'd be like, this is doctor-client privilege, right? She'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, I'm the Green Arrow. Ah! Oh.
I want to see that now.
So do I. I'll tell you, if we ever relaunch the show on HBO Max in like
Yes. 10 years, let's get Berlanti.
Gotcha. Island trauma.
Get Berlanti on the phone.
Taryn, write that down. Thank you.
Story credit. Story credit.
Story credit. Thank you very much.
What's your name?
My name is Mara. So, someone asked me a question about crossovers already, but you're my favorite character in The Flash. So, I wanted
Did you say this to me at your favorite character in The Flash?
Yeah.
You know that there's another show that I'm in, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, like, everybody says, oh, yeah, the Arrow. Of course, he's the best.
Sure. Thank you.
But I just wanted to ask, like, what your favorite other hero or, like, the cast of the other shows, like, who was your favorite to work with?
Oh man, well, there's something really always very, very special about Grant. For sure, on the other shows, Grant. She was just an amazing thing, and just a cool chemistry that existed between Oliver and Barry, and between me and Grant that I don't think Oliver really had with anyone else. So that, I mean, Melissa was always great. I was really happy to see Tom Cavanaugh yesterday. I always dug working with him. I thought when we were me, Melissa, and Tom were the 3 evil figureheads. I thought that was really fun. Evil Tom was always really exciting. And, oh man. And then otherwise, I tend to gravitate towards the villains of it all, like Josh Segarra as Prometheus and all stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, in the Berlanti-verse, all the actors, there's not a weak link in the bunch. I mean,
No, he does a really good job. I mean, David Rappaport, who casted all those shows and is sitting on all the audition tapes. He has them, by the way. I saw him post screenshots of all the Flash cast auditioning in honor of their season starting, and oh man, they're funny. But no, yeah, they do a good job.
What's your name?
Chloe,
Hey, Logan.
if you could, would you change the way Oliver Queen died?
Change the way he died. No.
No, I don't think so. Aside from like maybe living.
It's a pretty big change.
No, I think that I think we did a relatively good job of sticking the landing for the show. I thought him coming back as the Spectre was a cool thing because, I mean, the Spectre is just, he's just pure cosmic energy, which means that, like, in some way, shape, or form, like somewhere out there in the multiverse, Oliver Queen exists, which is cool.
What's your name? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Danielle. Someone already said this, but like the Crocs and socks are absolutely working. Like I have the same Crocs.
I have to wear socks
Absolutely.
because my feet sweat,
Absolutely.
and then I start sliding around, and it's gross.
Yeah, no, my cousin's in Louisiana and they don't wear socks. I'm like, you're crazy. Anyway, my question would be, so out of the entire series of Arrow, what was like the hardest episode you had to do, like physically or mentally?
So the hardest episode to do, oh man, I mean, well, it's a layered question, right? The hardest episode is the pilot, period. Okay, because the first time that you put on the superhero suit, you're just trying to like, everyone is secretly sitting around going, I hope this works. Because no one knows. It might not, right? Like, there are many, many, many more pilots made every year than become TV series. Certainly, that become TV series that get to last for almost 200 episodes. So the pilot was really hard and challenging just from a nerves standpoint. And then there were some really, really physically demanding episodes, like say, the episode where Oliver breaks out of prison, because that was just action the whole time. Or like, we would always shoot for the first couple of years, we would take the show, we would flip it on its head, and there would be an episode that was almost exclusively flashbacks. We would always shoot that in the winter. It would always be miserable. It would be in December. We had been shooting since July. We're about to go on break, and we would shoot this episode right before, and so I'd be dog tired. And that was challenging. And then just one episode that just from an emotional standpoint, there was, Oliver gets caught and taken prisoner by Prometheus, and he's just tortured the entire episode. And I was just cuffed to the floor for like a day. And I kept lunging against the cuffs and the chains. Ow. And they kept breaking, and I kept falling on my face. And I was just like, guys, I mean, I'm on the floor. Can we get real cuffs, please? Like, I mean, it's like, I'm a decent actor, but I'm not Charlie Chaplin, okay? Like, I don't want to fake like that. Just let me actually do it. Make it a little easier for me. So along those three, like, overall the pilot, and then there were some episodes where you're just really, really tired amongst the shooting schedule, and then that one episode, which is season 5, like later in season 5. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so
I love this guy.
What's up, dude?
so I had this question. Were any of the bows that you used real?
Were any of the bows that I used
And
real? Yeah.
do you still do archer?
I do. So, couple of good stories here. Yeah, so Oliver used 2 bows primarily. He used a recurve in the first season. He used a compound all the way through until the last season. And then for reasons that no one ever explained, other than I just wanted to use it again, he used the recurve again in the final season. My daughter and I just joined the Austin Archery Club for when we're out there, because she wants to learn how to shoot, and I would like to get back into it and get a couple of my own bows. I did take one thing from the set. I did. I took the original bow from the pilot. The first one. And it was in our garage in Los Angeles. Kind of like mounted up nicely, because I want to frame it one day, stuff like that. And then one day, we leave our garage open on a fairly regular basis, and one day I walked in and it was just gone. And I was like, oh my God, Like, first of all, I have no interest in selling it, but let's not pretend like it's not worth something. And I just remember being like, I was in a shame spiral for a while. I'm like, how could I have allowed this to happen? Like, how can I lose the bow from the pilot? And now I'm starting to get mad and suspicious of people that were at the house. Yeah, my daughter took it off the wall and took it out to shoot in the backyard. And then left it in the bottom of the outdoor toy bin for a year.
So you didn't know where
And we decided to clean up the backyard, and I did not want to clean up the backyard, and look what I found. Thank you for your question.
I hope it's framed and safe and secure now, right?
One of these days.
What's your name?
Okay.
Hey man, what's up?
So my question is related to how you react to being cast as Oliver Queen with your workout. What was your workout like being Oliver Queen?
So before Oliver Queen, I would just go on hikes, do push-ups, and I had a chin-up bar in my house, which came in handy. And then once I got it, I just started I did most of my own like weight training by myself at the beginning. Started working with a trainer in like the 4th season, I think, but learned a lot. It was really about a certain type of martial art. That martial art being fighting on camera, which is a really unique thing. I mean, the way that you approach whomever you're interacting with is kind of dependent on where the camera is. That calls for different techniques, different styles of punches, and all that stuff. So I don't know. That was ironically, now that I'm done with Arrow and I'm a little bit more in charge of my physical fitness, I'm actually in a little bit better shape. That's just a weird thing. Yeah, if I ever went back and did something like Arrow again, I would focus more on building in time for like some sort of fitness regimen. Make sure that it's part of it. Like in the same way that if I was gonna, if Oliver, especially in the flashbacks or something like that, had like a really bad bruise or a cut or something like that, like you put that makeup on beforehand and they build that time into your day. And I think that it's really important, and I do this now on Heels, where if the expectation is that we wrestle and all that stuff, well then fine. Then the expectation is that you guys make time for me to be in the gym 4 times a week. And Saturdays and Sundays don't count. And neither do Mondays, so do the math. Thank you.
There we go. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Joseph, and I'm really happy to be here. But my question for you is, Arrow is this iconic show. It launched its own universe. But I'm wondering, when you first got the role as Oliver Queen, did you have any idea of how big it would grow, or how big it would be, and how did you know when you'd made it?
No, I mean, the one thing that I was sort of prepared for is my manager called me up before I went in for the final audition. And he said, because before you go in for the final audition, you sign the contract. So it's not like they can go, you're the guy, and you can go, all right, let's start negotiating. That's not how it works. So I've already signed my deal. The one thing that my manager said before I went in for the final audition is he said, listen, he goes, it's my obligation to tell you that if you get this and it goes well, you're not gonna have a lot of free time for a long time. And it's just, I think that you should do it. You should definitely do it. But I mean, at the very least, consider that. And when does it feel like we've made it? I want to say that it was going back to, well, I mean, part of it was actually like going to New York City Comic-Con for me in, I think, 2014, or like maybe one of the first times that I came here and sat in this room and saw this many people. Thank you. By the way, it means a great deal that you're all still here. I really appreciate it. But I don't know, going back to San Diego Comic-Con, because we debuted the pilot there in 2012, and then we did a panel the next day, and it was filled with a bunch of people that said, I really like Oliver Queen, don't mess this up. Right?
No pressure.
And then those same people came back the following year and went, yeah.
What's your name?
My name is JD Powell. I don't know why I gave you my last name. My heart is
My name is Stephen Adam.
yeah. My heart is racing out of my chest. So, my question is: would Green Arrow and Hawkeye actually be friends if they met?
Would Green Arrow and Hawkeye be friends? Sure. Yeah, why not? He doesn't have to, like, they don't ever have to get into the debate about who's the best archer because we know, because he's a lefty. I'm sorry, did I just piss off like 20% of the room? No, they'd be buddies, of course. Of course. They'd have chats like, what's it like when so-and-so flies away? Or like, you need to catch a ride to a top of a building. Oh, it's the worst. Stuff like that. Thanks, JD.
Now that's a show I want to watch. Yeah, there it is. Berlanti, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Chandler, and I was just wondering, how do you feel about that in the comics, Oliver Queen's fortune has surpassed Bruce Wayne's?
Has it? Yes.
That's how I feel. That's the way it should be.
You're just doing it in the comics.
Thank you. What a great question.
All right.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
So I've got a question.
Okay.
Which character do you relate to? Did you relate to more on Arrow? Did you relate more to Green Arrow or Oliver Queen?
Well, I mean, I'm like, you know, I'm like Green Arrow to my kids, but maybe that's it. No, Oliver. You know, everyone has traumas in their life. Mine certainly aren't as spectacular as his. But you know, also I didn't have a ton of friends growing up. I was a little bit of a loner, and I kind of came out of my shell a little bit later in my 20s, and now I'm, you know, clearly very comfortable in my own skin. Okay, but yeah, Oliver, and then of course, and then we introduced, you know, Oliver and being in a relationship, and Oliver and being a dad, and all that stuff. So probably Oliver. Thank you.
What's your name?
Hey Emma.
Hey.
That's a great shirt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm honored to be here. Last time you came, I addressed you that I was your #1 fan, and I still am.
I see that. Thank you.
I was wondering what your favorite childhood memory is.
Favorite childhood memory? This is true. WrestleMania 6. It was April 1st, 1990. I was 9 years old-ish. Maybe about to be 10? No, I was about 8. Sorry.
What was the big match for that?
It was Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
Yeah. That was good. Like, I remember counting down the days to that starting in November of 1989, and it wasn't, you know, for a while. So I think I had a birthday at Canada's Wonderland, which is kind of like our Six Flags or something like that. And I was like the only one that got to ride the really big roller coaster, right? Like all my friends were jealous, even though I smashed my head. I was too small on it, so I smashed my head into the restraining thing. Nose is bleeding. Like, it was okay, Dad. It was okay. Yeah, that's actually, you know what? No, that wasn't a good memory at all. I changed my mind. Thank you very much.
What's your name?
Maddie.
Hey, Maddie.
Hi. My question, I have two.
Sure.
So, one, do you watch yourself on TV ever?
Do I watch myself on TV? I watch not typically when it airs, but I watch every episode before it airs. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, all those actors that say that they don't watch their stuff, they're lying. Like, you have to be lying. How do you get better if you don't watch yourself? I mean, some people, if you're a baseball player, you watch baseball players nowadays, they finish their at-bat, and if they strike out, they don't I'm never gonna watch that again. No, they go and they look at an iPad, and they look and they study what happened, right? So, yeah. So yes, I do.
So how does it feel like watching yourself?
horrible. It was terrible. And it's one of the reasons why I watch an earlier cut. So when you watch an earlier cut of something, it doesn't have the visual effects, it doesn't have the color correction, it doesn't have the sound, it doesn't have the music. So if you can enjoy that version of it, then you can enjoy the finished product.
I think we have time for one more.
Oh, yeah. We can rapid fire a couple.
Hi.
That's your sexy husband? All right. Okay.
My name is Terrence. She already introduced me.
Okay, sexy husband.
But, I love Arrow, by the way, and it's such a great pleasure to meet you. Like, you're my biggest superhero. But anyway, my question for you is, when you were training to become the brand new Raj Ghul, and the episode showed a quick glance of John Diggle being killed when you were being trained, how did that make Oliver feel?
I mean, he was a rogue agent, so probably not great, right? If he's being made to visualize this stuff, he probably realized that like he was not in a great position in terms of like he may have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. No one wants to see Diggle, anything bad happen to Diggle, ever. Yeah, we like Diggle.
That's time for one more, I think.
I'm Ben. What was your favorite thing about working with Emily?
Oh, thanks for asking. By the way, on her behalf, Emily booked a movie, which is why she couldn't be here this weekend, but she sends her regards, and she promises that eventually one of these days, it'll be the two of us up here. We promise. That's the Salt Lake City thing that I promised. In the nick of time. Sorry, what was the question? My favorite thing about working with Emily?
Yeah.
Her ability to just very, very effortlessly, but because I know how much effort she put into it, but it comes off like it's just easy and second nature. The amount of words that she could get out of her mouth in a way where it doesn't seem like she's like an auctioneer. Do you know what I mean? Those lines that she had, where she's having to explain everything, they're the glue that holds the show together. They're probably the most difficult thing that someone did on the show, and that includes like all the stunts. It was really, really impressive to watch, and maybe like helped me learn.
It's a good question. She's amazing. Star Trek, they call that techno battle. Yeah. It's hard to do. What do you want to do before we leave?
I mean, I don't know.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
We cover everything?
I feel like we had one more Green Arrow question right there. Was it? Did you have a question? Yeah,
Just
come on
real
up,
quick,
man.
yeah.
Okay. We have that. We have one from I think it's Taylor, right? Yeah. Two more quick ones, then we'll get out of here.
Thank you, appreciate it. I'm Tiffany.
Hey, Tiffany.
I was just curious, what was, to you, was the most, I know you went over it a little bit, but the most physical and emotional trials during this entirety of the series, even the crossovers, and what was your favorite scene?
Well, I think the most difficult emotional thing was probably like the events leading up to and surrounding Oliver's mother's death in season 2, right? Because that also had like a long tail of just deeply, deeply, deeply affecting him. And it basically led, like their relationship splinters at the end of season 1 and then starts to come back in season 2 just in time for her to no longer be around. So that was really deeply affecting, for sure, for sure. Thank you. Real quick.
All right, man. Looking good.
One more season of Arrow. What would you like to happen, and who would you like to be the villain of that season?
So if we're gonna do one more season of Arrow, man, it's not that I want to. It's not what would happen. It would be like, where would we do it in terms of? There have to be something like. It has to be rated R. That's it. That's it. It's the whole thing. It just has to be rated. It just has to be rated R. I mean, in our last episode, in the 170th episode, you know, like we have this one epic flashback battle scene where Oliver takes out like 70 dudes, and you never see one drop of blood. Never sat well with me. So who would be the villain? I don't know. What would they do? I don't know. But man, I mean, you see what they were able to do for, you know, for like Logan as an example, or what they do with Deadpool, or what was the Cena series? I haven't seen it, but was it the Peacemaker? Right? Yeah. Something like that. I just want to have a big canvas to not be necessarily stuck in a. You have to take 5 commercial breaks and you're allowed to show a little bit of the back of the shoulder, but not too much of the back of the shoulder. One of those. Yeah.
Well, let's lobby for an HBO Max version.
That's that. Hey, so like, I'm around for the rest of the day. I love you guys. You always show up and show out, and I really, really appreciate you. Thank you very much.